Good afternoon, everyone, and you're watching Anarchy, Analyst. I'm your host, Gabriela Ramirez, and today we're going to be talking about the documentary Where's My Roy Cohn, directed by filmmaker Matt Tiernauer. Though the documentary was released on September 20th by Sony Pictures Classics, Tiernauer was convinced ahead of time that he needed to create the film, specifically the day after Donald Trump was elected president in 2016.
Dora Cohn wanted a different son from the son that God gave her. And that imbued him a sense of shame about who he was. His father gave him the language through law and politics to express his shame.
Cohn was the original mastermind in playing dirty in politics, and these tactics still live on today.
Testing 1, 2, 3. Last question today. What makes Roy Cohn tick?
Cohn was known as an evil, ruthless lawyer and politician. From being McCarthy's right-hand man during his infamous communist witch hunt, to owning the most frightening law firms of his time.
John Gotti walked into a bowl and shot a guy in the head. Roy managed to get Gotti off.
We have Cohn investigating homosexuals very aggressively.
That he was the one who threw the grid parties.
And there were rumors he was picking up male prostitutes.
Now, in order to know why Roy Cohn became Roy Cohn, the documentary goes through the important times of his life. His birth to his inevitable demise.
And thanked him for getting her husband elected.
Cohn looked at Donald Trump as a protege.
Donald had the money, and Roy had the balls and the shrewdness.
Attack. Don't settle. Don't apologize. Attack.
They begin by describing the relationship with his mother, Dora, who happened to be Roy's biggest fan no matter what, rooting him on in even his most dastardly doings. This was exactly why he had huge confidence and was not afraid of challenging anyone. He didn't need looks or charm, he just needed people to fear him. He already saw himself as unconventional, so who cared if anybody else did? The way that Tiernauer portrays this is through those who have had incredulous experiences with him. Claims from the media, close friends, colleagues, and family members all put the puzzle pieces together on what made Roy Cohn tick. This brought to light that not only was the political tyrant pushing laws aside to get what he wanted, but integrating his own rules and players. The Mafia. McCarthyism taught him about the corruption of truth and how to use that for personal gain, and it was seen throughout the entirety of the documentary, such as his questionable relationship with David Schein, a dear friend of Cohn that was drafted during the McCarthy era. Being the despicable person that he was, the monster that was created was a combination of his father's dialogue, his mother's courage, and his fear of being outed as a homosexual. Tiernauer is actually able to capture the essence of who Roy Cohn is throughout the entirety of this documentary, including highlighting his fight against communism, the judicial system, and AIDS. His crooked ways resulted in his disbarment and abandonment, even by Donald Trump, who no longer could risk his reputation by being affiliated with him. The visual editing and musical score made the film and brings you back to those times where Cohn was in action, fighting relentlessly against true justice. The editing was done by Andrea Lewis, who has worked with Tiernauer on Studio 54, and her team, where they chose to make the majority of the documentary black and white. The vintage film style, completed with graphics and crazy transitions, a sepia tint, and grainy videos from past media clips, was an incredible choice and made it more than a documentary, but an experience. The original score was written by Grammy Award-winning, Emmy and BAFTA-nominated composer Lorne Balfe. The music haunted you while watching, as if it were a black and white horror film. And add on those visuals, you knew exactly what Tiernauer was trying to portray.
He could pull strings and bring people together.
Though the film isn't directly about Trump, it is a symbol of what our politics have come to today. We too have our own Roy Cohn to deal with. Whether you knew him or not, you now know exactly who Roy Cohn is. The film is a brilliant representation of how politics used to be back then and how they are now. I'm Gabriela Ramirez, and you're watching The Anarchy Analyst.